Hello, I am the Devil's Advocate. I'm Alex. I review movies and TV and video games and music on this channel. I kind of do whatever I want on this channel. Today is very important. We're reviewing the entire first season of Daredevil Born Again.
This city can't go unchecked.
If you haven't seen my first review where I did episode 1 and 2, and by the looks of the YouTube, not many people have watched that one. But my thesis was I was hopefully optimistic. I could see the seams where the reshoots took place and they brought in the new actors and the old actors and the old team, and I could see where the new stuff kind of bounced around with the old stuff, like the Netflix and the Disney meshing together. So I'm gonna just, first of all, this is all gonna be spoilers. So if you haven't watched Daredevil Born Again, I suggest you do. It's a great show. Anyways, I'm gonna briefly kind of just touch on each episode and then kind of do a whole review. So episode where we left off with episode 3, which is the trial of Hector Ayala, the White Tiger. That was a cool episode. It is really cool to get kind of a case of the week vibe. And I didn't make a review for She-Hulk because I wasn't doing these yet. But that's what I really liked about She-Hulk, was it was case of the week and still had an overarching story. So I'm glad Daredevil picked up that baton. It's fitting, and it is more serious in tone than She-Hulk, obviously. But I still appreciated that they did that, and wow, what an episode. I loved Matt bringing out the costume after he begged the judge not to allow that in the trial. Hector getting killed at the end, and the guy wearing a Punisher logo. Oh my god, who is it? And we know it's not Frank, of course. But it was a good way to set up kind of the stakes of the season, because episode 1 and 2 was more, hey, welcome back to Daredevil, and like this world, and these characters, and here's what's happening, and Fisk is mayor, and oh my god. Episode 4 was, at the time that I watched it, I felt it was meandering. It was the clearest example of the seams of stitching together what they already shot with the new stuff that they shot. And I didn't really like it, but the more time has gone on, I really appreciate this episode because it does, again, feel like case of the week, but also a day in the life of Matt Murdock. We also get kind of one of the most important moments in this whole season, which was the guy getting arrested for stealing caramel corn and then explaining to Matt the injustices of the prison industrial complex in America and systemic racism. So that was cool. And I was, after that episode, for a couple after that, I was like, is this ever going to come back? Did that matter at all? And eventually it did, so I am happy that they did that. We also get one of the best moments of this whole season is Wilson Fisk having to do mayoral duties and like go to a school and go to like a cultural heritage meeting, and they keep playing the song "We Built This City on Rock and Roll," and he's just visibly frustrated by it. It's very funny. Also, we get a scene of Matt hitting on someone in court whose job it is to determine how long his client's going to have to stay in jail because he's trying to reduce the sentence. And you just see Matt just being that Marvel playboy that we know he is in the comics. And it was kind of nice to see. Okay, so then episode 5 and 6 released at the same time. And I don't know why. These release schedules for these streaming shows are all over the place. Sometimes they release multiple episodes at a premiere. Sometimes they release multiple during the season. Sometimes it's just one-offs. The decisions, I wish I knew how they were making these decisions. Well, we get 5 and 6. 5 is the bank robbery episode. I have notes here. And that was a cool one. Again, not bottle episode, but like, story of the week. It's a bank robbery. He's there, and he's got to stop the bank robbery while not dressed as Daredevil. Cool. We get a cameo from Kamala's dad. I don't even know if it's a cameo. I guess it's a cameo. It is a cameo. But it's like a cameo that lasts the whole episode. Because he's featured in heavily. Hey, Mr. Poon. Mr. Poon's excited about Daredevil. We also get to see that Asian cop again. I don't know her name. She was in the first episode in the bar, in Josie's bar with Cherry, who is now Matt's best friend. So it's like, oh, hey, she's back. It was cool. I like the bank robber was fun and interesting. The fight at the end where he gets his knee bent backwards is crazy. That was just a fun episode, and it did lead into some more. There was development of the main overall plot in that episode because Fisk is doing stuff too. I forget exactly. We might see Adam in this episode for the first time when he goes down to the basement and like indulges eating pasta and sausage and all this while Adam is screaming. I think that episode is the one that's bookended by Muse, like in the or that might be episode 4. I don't remember because Muse is so inconsequential in this season and I don't even know why he's here. Although I will get back to that point a little later. But we're going into episode 6, which is the Muse episode. Like he kidnaps Hector's niece, who's still wandering around this season kind of aimlessly. She begs Matt for help. Matt doesn't want to help. Blah, blah, blah. She goes on her own. We're also getting more and more of Michael Gandolfini's character, Daniel, I think, getting drunker and drunker off the power that he's getting from Fisk. And in one of these episodes, he accidentally spills something to BB Urick, who prints it, and then Fisk threatens to fire him, and he's furious, but he just he begs, not for his job, importantly, he just begs look, fire me. You should fire me. I'm a screw up, but I'm always going to support you, and I love you, and blah, blah, blah. And that's what saves his job. And Fisk is like, actually, I think you have a good future here at this organization. But if you ever do anything like that again, it'll be the last thing you ever do. So I'm going to wonder in season 2 if Daniel is going to get too big for his britches. He's going to think he has the power now, and he's going to get smacked down, or he is going to be a protege. It'll be interesting to see. Side note, I am glad that they cut the season in half. Because initially when they announced the show, it was going to be 18 or 19 episodes. And I'm glad they split it into half. And from what I understand, this is going by Jesse Gender, shout out Jesse Gender, that they only shot 6 episodes before they did reshoots and rewrites. And those 6 are just in this first part of the season, in these 9 episodes. So the next 9 that they are currently shooting now will be the official team that they have. Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, John Barenthal, and some of the people from the Netflix show, behind the scenes making those seasons. So hopefully the second season next year will feel a little more cohesive from beginning to end. Then we get into episode 7. Well, episode 6 is pretty straightforward. He goes to fight Muse. At the end, Hector's niece is missing. He goes to call 911, and then he hangs up, and he's like, screw it, I'll go do it myself. So he puts on the Daredevil suit. Finally, they could have done a better, he's back moment. Because the first time we see him, it's a wide shot, and he's running across the rooftops. It doesn't seem like the big moment in the first episode where he stood on the fire escape in front of the church window. This was just kind of yeah, he's back. which fine. I did want to point out, I think it's actually the next episode, but it's a moment in. I mean, the fight with Muse is fine. It could have been better. He saves Hector's niece, says, "I'm Daredevil and I'm back." There's a moment. Yeah, I think it's in this next one, in 7, where he's like searching around Muse's lair because because the niece told him that she kept seeing this one face painted a bunch of times, so that might be his next target. And then he's like flipping through pages and feeling the pages with his fingers to see like who it is, and it's Heather, his girlfriend / therapist for Fisk / therapist for Muse. And it was this episode 7 that really made me go, I feel like they cut a lot of stuff out about Muse, because I feel like we were supposed to have regular see the regular therapy sessions with maybe a few of her clients besides Fisk and Vanessa, which would also include Muse Bastion, I think his name is, so that when this episode hits and the reveal happens as Detective whatever lady is explaining to Fisk who he is, that we would be surprised. But it feels like they just cut out all that stuff in favor of other things, which I'm not complaining about. I don't give a crap about Muse, so fine. The less of him, the better. But it was just a lot exposition-y in the beginning of episode 7 to just establish who he is, what his motivations are, why he's like this, blah, blah, blah. It's also interesting because I wrote down in my notes here, in that episode, Matt is talking with Heather in the beginning, and he almost breaks the fourth wall a little bit when he says like the relationship feels fake, but not just the relationship, his life feels fake for the past year since Foggy died. And it's like he's going through the motions of this existence that doesn't feel real to him, and I'm like, are you kind of winking that because Disney now owns this and the show is different, it doesn't feel like the life he lived on Netflix? That stuck out to me as kind of a pretty self-aware moment, at least for the show, if not for the character. Because then the rest of the episode falls so hard into Disney tropes of like, and then because the next scene he goes back to his office with his brand new friends that we've never met before, Kirsten and Cherry, and they're like admonishing him, and he's kind of like, I gotta do what I gotta do, you guys. And Kristen's doing the whole like, you won't tell me what's going on, I know something's going on with you. Like, come on, man, we've done this with Karen already. And then into the fight, the whole kidnapping of Heather and the fight with Muse and stuff, which, brutal fight, cool use of the grappling gun through the shoulder, that was cool. I like the idea that he brought a canvas to make a painting out of her. And then he ends up being the one shot on there. Kind of cool that they had Heather shoot him. And it's just reinforcing her anti-vigilante stance, which is, alright, fine, whatever. Cool that they used that as a moment for Fisk to have the task force claim credit for taking down Muse, because that's what I mean. Marvel has a bad habit of killing villains. We know this, like R.I.P. Red Skull, Mandarin, Killmonger. I mean, hell, even technically Loki several times. Not that I miss Loki, I don't. But even Secret Invasion killing the Super Skrull. I want the Super Skrull to interact with the Fantastic Four. That's what I want. But, whatever. My point being, Muse's death actually served a purpose here. Because then Fisk can hold up the mask to be like, our task force is doing the job, and get more public support for it. I like the idea of the task force. And again, if you watch my review of episode 1 and 2, I thought this series might lean a little bit into fuck the police, fuck the system territory. And boy, I don't think they conveyed like any real messages that much, like verbally. But by the end of this season, boy oh boy, I was satisfied. By the way, I didn't mention in episode 4 we see Punisher and his reaction to to Matt pulling that bullet out and being like, "Hey man, someone's using your logo to go enact justice, and I think they're mostly cops." And Frank's just like, "Yeah, they suck." Like that's it. No real anger or frustration. It kind of irked me, like, why? Why wouldn't he be furious about that? Then we get into episode 8. In episode 8 and 9, I took the most notes. I'm not going to, like, really go into it, but episode 8 is called Isle of Joy. That's where Fisk and Vanessa kill Adam. Like, prove your loyalty to me, basically. Kill your ex-lover, and she does. I also didn't mention the Luca. One of the gang bosses. Hey, Poon, I know you're excited. But just calm down. One of the gang bosses comes to Vanessa being like, things were better when you were in charge, and we should get rid of the big guy. So she says, yeah, you're right, and then tells him where Fisk is going to be. At the end of the episode 7, he walks in to kill Kingpin as his back is turned to him, but Buck was there and shoots Luca, so that's the end of that. So just proving that, I guess it's supposed to leave you on like, oh my god, did Vanessa try to kill Kingpin? Is he gonna be mad at her in the next episode? No. She's totally set him up. She and Fisk kill Adam together. This is also the episode where we see Bullseye again. Hey! Kind of nice to have Bullseye come back. Wasn't expecting it. Moved to Gen Pop. Calls for Matt to come meet him. Matt does. He pisses Matt off. Matt slams his head into the table, breaking a tooth. That's how he escapes when he goes to the infirmary. He spits the tooth in the dude's eye and then just slices them up, takes the outfit and leaves, or the uniform rather. This is where Heather really starts to get on my nerves in this episode, because she is just anti-vigilante, just cannot discern the difference between when Matt says Daredevil saved you, Muse is trying to kill you, she says, I saved myself. And it's like, no you fucking didn't, because if Daredevil hadn't shown up, you'd have been sliced up on that canvas. Daredevil gave you the opportunity to save yourself with that gun, and actually probably didn't even need the gun, because Matt would have done it on his own anyways. But whatever. Okay, Heather, okay. Bullseye gets blue lighting whenever, like, he's going a little crazy, which is kind of interesting. Also, why only his character, and why just this episode? It didn't happen in episode 1 when we first saw him, or 2. We have this ball that Fisk is throwing to kind of bully rich donors into funding his Red Hook project. He wants to revitalize the port in Red Hook, Brooklyn. And I like this scene because it circles back to an earlier scene. I think it's probably episode 4. So much gets lost in that episode. Of Fisk meeting with these rich donors, Vanessa trying to be like, hey, you really kind of got to suck up to these people. And them dismissing him, calling him a crook to his face. The dude from Hawkeye shows up, the swordsman guy, and I'm like, all right, you're here. You kind of had an interaction before. That's fun. And he's like, threatens him. He says, no, it's just a warning. And then that circles back to this episode where Kingpin's like, I got this anti-vigilante task force, and I hear you got a nickname called the Swordsman. You wouldn't want them searching looking into that, would you? And Jack is like, oh, is that a threat? And he's like, no, it's just a warning. So how much can I put you down for the Red Hook project? Like, that's some good kingpinning right there. I like that the task force still has the NYPD badge. They are goons of the supervillain of a comic book TV show. Yes, they are. However, within the context of the show itself, they are still on duty, fully employed NYPD officers. Police officers. Matter of fact, speaking of the police officers, in episode 8, they're like bullying, I think, a reporter. By bullying, I mean beating the shit out of a reporter, like in the kitchen of the ball, so that other guests don't see it. You know, he's like, hey, it's free press. And he's like, I'll show you free press. Burns his hand in the deep fryer in front of the commissioner of police, who has been trying to kind of work against Fisk behind the scenes a little bit, and is admonishing these cops for doing this. But they're like, dude, we don't even answer to you. We answer to the mayor. He outranks you. Go fuck yourself, essentially. And this is when he has a conversation with BB Urich, where he's kind of criticizes her for running a story saying that the task force defeated Muse when it was everyone knows it's Daredevil. We saw that in the previous episode. Daniel strong-armed her into doing that, and she replies like, well, I didn't know you were going to be the head of his SS guard. And he's like, touche. But brings up the fact that Fisk is the #1 suspect in the death of Ben Urich. And I'm like, hey, look at that mention there. And finally, we understand BB's motivations in the penultimate episode, that she is aware that he is the prime suspect, probably did it, and is cozying up to Daniel and the administration in an effort to get close to find those kind of answers. So, she's not a dumbass. I'm happy because I kind of thought she was. Especially after getting strong-armed in the last episode and then being here at the ball with Daniel, and he's like, yeah, sorry, I kind of got a little rough with you last time. She's like, yeah, it's okay, I get it, you're just doing your job. I'm like, girl, this is how you end up in abusive relationships. But, you know, she knew. So she's playing the long game, and I appreciate that. So we get Matt showing up to the ball. Well, actually, we get a good, argument. First of all, when Matt's arguing with Heather about, Muse and Daredevil and blah, 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 and, refusing to go to the ball, the fact that Buck showed up to his apartment to ask for her, clearly indicating, yeah, Fisk been keeping tabs on you, bro. Especially keeping tabs on you dating his therapist. That really seemed like a conversation between a normal person and their Trump-loving family member, and how they're like, but how can you not see he's evil? How can you not see he's bad? And them just being like, I don't know, I support the guy on the economy. It doesn't register that. Now, I got a little frustrated. In my old review of episode 1 and 2 that this whole anti-vigilante thing, no one ever brings up the Avengers. No one brings up, hey, Steve Rogers, Iron Man, all of them are not licensed with the government. In fact, we had a whole Civil War movie about that. You wanted to register them. They refused, and they still ended up saving the world. And the world wouldn't have been saved if you had registered them all. Kind of important. So that's kind of just a glaring, no one's mentioning the Avengers, that they are vigilantes. But also in this, no one mentions the fact that Matt has put Fisk in prison. At the end of season 1 of Daredevil, they put him in jail. Though everyone forgot that Kingpin went to jail, that he was in prison, and that he escaped. Weird. I mean, look, again, real life imitate, if Trump had actually gotten convicted for any of this stuff, had been in jail, he still might have won the election and gotten out. I don't even know. But just that's a good point to bring up to Heather, It's like, no, I do have personal history with the guy. I put him in prison for doing this many illegal, illicit things. Like, what the fuck? But anyways, we need to get Heather out of here anyway. The ball scene was great when Matt shows up and realizes that, like, has been putting the pieces together of who killed Foggy. I'm glad they brought that plot line back. That they didn't just leave it at, like, oh, Bullseye was just crazy and just did that. That it was Vanessa. Because he made a promise to Fisk. If Fisk, you ever come after Foggy or Karen, I will put you in jail forever. And he didn't, but Vanessa did. So I'm wondering what the retribution for that is going to be. I love the scene on the dance floor where Fisk is talking to him under his breath, knowing that only Matt can hear him. Fucking great. Brilliant use of that. I wish it happened more. Bullseye's out. He shows up to the ball, has a sniper rifle. It's going to kill Wilson Fisk, not Vanessa. I don't know why. Probably just because Fisk fucked with him too in season 3 of Daredevil. And Matt jumps in front of the bullet and saves him. Episode ends. Fantastic scenes. The whole thing of, like, Fisk blackmailing people in the back room, the task force being there, and the people being, like, visibly intimidated by them. Bullseye said in the beginning of the episode, you know, if you were really a good man, you would defend your worst enemy, wouldn't you? And he does, because Bullseye is not his worst enemy. Fisk is. That's cool that happened. Next episode, he's in the hospital and he wakes up to Heather is there, and he's like groggy and he goes, Karen? I literally burst out screaming when that happened, because I'm like, oh, it should be Karen, first of all. It's fucking fantastic that Heather's butthurt about that. And then she says, like, I'll come back when he's feeling a little more put together. Because Kirsten's there, and she's like, it's the drugs, don't worry about it. I'm just like, you know what? Get the fuck out of here, Heather. Nobody likes you. It should be Karen anyway. Kirsten tells Matt some more information about Foggy. I think actually episode 8 is when he goes to Josie's. Yes. Episode 8, he goes to Josie's, and Josie gets a scene where she actually gets to talk, which is really cool, because we've only seen her as the bartender. She bounces off Matt and Foggy, but never really get a scene with her, and it was kind of cool to see that. Also, the way they were talking, I can't put my finger on it, but the way they were talking felt a bit fourth wall breaky, because Cherry is there as well, and she's talking to him, and she's like, you know, Matt, I've been thinking about reopening. I don't know if the neighborhood wants it anymore. Kind of talking about, like, hey, we're thinking about bringing Daredevil back. I don't know if there's an appetite for this anymore. And then when Matt's like, yeah, no, there is. I think you should reopen. Cherry asked to talk to him, and she's like, I'm going to pass. He's your problem now. I'm passing him off to you. It feels like a Netflix passing the baton to Disney moment. I don't know if they intended it like that, but that's how I read it. And that was good. And then in episode 9, we go back to Josie's, and she mentions that he was drinking the, like, Victory whiskey that they have mentioned throughout, well, the whole series, but also this season specifically. This special whiskey that they only drink when they win a case. And because Foggy was drinking it the night before he had to go to court, he knew he was going to win. So what does that mean? And so Kirsten tells Matt, like, where the files are, so he can go investigate that. But of course, Fisk is not going to let Matt rest and heal. He sends Buck to go kill him. He also tells Sheila, his assistant, like, we're going to push the city a little bit and they're going to come to us with open arms. And she's like, how are you going to do that? And he says, bring in the guy from Common Ed. And they shut down all the power to the city. So now there's riots and looting and chaos and cops shooting innocent kids in the street and then pulling their like hat down over their face and like, that's not a kid, that's a masked vigilante. Just like how in real life cops will plant guns or drugs on somebody to justify murdering them. So that was, that's a good plan by Fisk, I guess. In the midst of this, Matt escapes the hospital, goes home. Buck calls in like, Matt's gone. So task force gets sent to Matt's apartment. In Matt's apartment, Frank is already there saying he got a phone call that made me change my mind about not giving a shit. And I'm here to protect you. And Matt tries to tell him like, hey man, don't kill anybody. And he's like, look dude, I'm the help you got, okay? I'm not pulling my punches. Just deal with it. And they don't even have time to argue before the task force shows up. Matt goes and puts on his Daredevil costume and like blasts through the ceiling, the skylight rather, which you don't need as a blind man, but whatever. He has a penthouse. He's a lawyer. He's got money. Why not? So, and this is what I meant when I said they may not have really gone in depth messaging wise about the problem with policing and using these kind of tactics and excessive force and all that shit. But boy, is it satisfying watching Punisher shotgun motherfuckers through the fucking face. Dude, this whole scene, I was pumping my fist, screaming, fuck the police. Like, oh my God, this shit was fucking cathartic. Just watching Matt smack him with, like, his metal pole, and the way Punisher was, like, putting holes through the table, through the wall, blood pouring everywhere, slice the motherfuckers up with a knife. Oh my God, it was fucking sick. It's one of the best fight scenes ever. In just the fact that it was cops that they were killing. Disney killed cops, dude. They killed cops on a television show on Disney Plus. You can make them seem as not connected to the force as possible, but they still have that NYPD badge. And in the show, they are still working for the mayor, on duty, active police officers. It was fucking amazing. And then we find out, oh, by the way, this guy is the guy who killed Hector because he has the Punisher logo on his vest. Matt wants to kill him. Frank is egging him on to. He doesn't. Frank's like, all right, I'll do it. He gets in front of him. And this is a funny moment because he's like, hey, man, Frank, he's not worth it. And he's like, oh, yeah? What about this guy? Is this guy worth it? And just pops another one. And then before they even get time to really argue about it, Matt hears a grenade, so they got to jump out of the building. And, meaning that the cop is probably dead? That he was trying to not kill anyway? Then we get a big surprise, which is Karen shows back up to pick up Frank and Matt. Takes him back to Frank's hidey hole, wherever he is. And we get this, I wrote down in my notes, like, is Frank flirting with Karen right now? Because apparently she was the one who called and made him change his mind and go protect Matt. So, like, have they been talking? I mean, there was a little bit of that kind of tension back in season 2. But it was still all leading up to Karen and Matt together because the Elektra stuff also threw the wrench into them getting together. I don't know. Karen felt kind of a kinship with Punisher in that moment because she killed Wesley, R.I.P. Wesley. And so she feels guilt about killing somebody, and that's where she feels the kinship. But you know what? If they're going to just lean into, like, Playboy Matt, he's banging She-Hulk, he's banging random bitches named Heather, he's banging whoever he wants. Take Karen off the board by having her be with Punisher. That'll work until Punisher, goes too far for her and she'll leave him, and that will happen. There was a moment in Fisk's office where they were holding, like, not the New York Post, but the Marvel Universe equivalent, and it said "stopped and fist" for, like, killing Muse. That was a nice little... Again, they're not going to outright come out and say, we don't like cops, we think policing is wrong, blah, 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 abolish the police. But they will do little things like that. That's like, if you know what stop and frisk was in New York, then you know that that's a bad thing. Oh, Daniel gets a scene where he fully gets to play Tony Soprano, where he's talking with, like, the city council and going like, hey, yo, we got dirt on you. Support the Safe Streets Initiative, which is the anti-vigilante thing. Or don't, and just let us know. And just really laying thick the gangster in that. Matt and Karen go to find the files that Foggy was working on and figure out that because of a really old, like, 1800s charter in New York, the port of Red Hook is technically, like, international waters, so there's no laws from New York or even the United States that apply. Therefore, Fisk the Fisks want to use that as a way to import, like, billions of dollars worth of, like, illegal merchandise. So they're going to turn it into, like, their own mini, like, you can have gambling here and prostitution and dog fighting and fucking human fighting and cage fighting, and we can sell drugs and do all this shit. And no one can touch us because of an ancient law, which also is another nod to, like, Fisk and Trump being similar, that Trump is also trying to use, like, ancient laws to do harmful shit now. Matt mentions that he could hear Karen and Frank's heartbeat when they were all together. So yeah, actually Karen and Frank might be a thing, or could be a thing. Matt explaining the avocados joke to her. Oh, that hit my heart. Foggy's killed because the case he was working on would tie into Vanessa because it had to do with the Fisk Empire, and it would also have revealed that the Red Hook charter that says that it's immune from laws, so they could have changed that, and that would have been brought to light, and then, oh no, the whole Fisk operation is done again, so that's why she killed Foggy. Frank, this is my second favorite scene. Or maybe my first favorite scene. I don't know. I like Daredevil and Punisher beating the shit out of and murking all these cops. Frank going by himself and doing it in Red Hook. And it's specifically his fans. They all have Punisher stuff on their vests. They're all like, oh my God, it's him. It's an honor to meet you, sir. And he immediately pulls out that shit and just starts going ham on all of them. And it's amazing. I loved it so much. The brutality of him killing these fucking cops was amazing. Loved it. They subdue him. They don't actually want to kill him. They use, like, non-lethal stuff. They capture him and they are trying to get him to, like, lead them. And he's like, he's about to say, you know what I think of you? And then they're cutting this scene interchanged with Fisk and the police commissioner, who, like, Sheila rats him out. Moment for Sheila to be a good person, chooses to save her own skin. Chief Gallo is now going to be killed. Frank is about to tell these cops what he thinks of them. And then it cuts back to Fisk. And then when it cuts back to Punisher, he just says, like, you're a bunch of clowns playing dress up. You don't know me. You don't know my pain. You don't know my loss. Blah, blah, blah. And then they beat him unconscious. I feel like he was about to say something like, you fucking cops are fucking blah, 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 like go off on them, and Disney said, no, that's too far. We can have him killing them, but we can't have him actually say why he's doing it. I don't know. Or that could be my imagination, and he was never going to say anything. But I wanted him to. I wanted to make it clear. You are not me. You protect and serve, and you are doing a shit job of it. You need to not idolize me. Idolize Captain America. Go fuck yourselves. That's what he said in the comics, basically. But they cut back to Fisk, and Fisk crushes the Chief's fucking head. But not clean. He crushes it and, like, breaks off part of his jaw and then part of the side of his skull. It is the most gruesome thing I've seen Disney put out. I mean, Werewolf by Night was pretty, but it was also black and white. But this was not, and this was pretty fucking gruesome. It feels like Disney wanted their own head in a car door moment, and you got it. So, all right. Then it's kind of like it's a new day, ending the season. Frank's captured. We see like the basement where Adam was kept. And Fisk has put all his political rivals there, again mirroring what Trump wants to do. Like if Trump could have a basement that had cages filled with Hillary Clinton and AOC and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all these people, he would. And we're not even that far away from that happening, for real. But Frank is also in there. And so is Swordsman, which is funny. It's like the rich elites and the city council and stuff. Anyone who talks shit to him. And I didn't talk much about Fisk this season because it's just Vincent D'Onofrio being a fantastic actor, but also channeling Donald Trump a bit. And it's fascinating to watch. He does a great job. But we kind of end on Matt and Karen in the back of Josie's. They're talking about what's to come, what do we do next, and Matt giving this big speech about fighting and resisting and revolution. And he said 3 R words, like resist, rebel, revolt, or something like that. And I was like, depose, defend, deny. Luigi? A little Luigi in here? A little wahoo in here? I don't know. When she asked, like, what are we going to do? He says, we're going to raise an army. And I was hoping that those doors would slide open and we'd see Luke Cage, fucking Jessica Jones, fucking Iron Fist, fucking Colleen Wing, fucking Misty Knight. I was hoping. And Frank, no. Well, actually, Frank's captured, so he wouldn't be there. But, no, we didn't get that. It's fine. I'm sure Disney's talking to these actors, or at least thinking about it now, that maybe they could be in season 2 or somewhere down the line. I'd be happy with them back. I want them all back. Even Iron Fist, dude. Like, Iron Fist show wasn't that good, but Iron Fist in Luke Cage in The Defenders, fantastic. He was great. Because it would be great to see him and Shang-Chi team up and shit. Like, him and Luke Cage have the bromance. I want to see Luke Cage and Jessica Jones get married. Hell, Luke Cage in the comics is often, like, in charge of the Avengers. So that would be kind of cool. That's just hopeful wishing for the next season. I think it would have also been cool if they had Spider-Man show up. I know they can't. Sony's being a bitch. Or if they had, like, the Disney, like Kamala Khan is there because he met his father. Moon Knight, motherfucking Hawkeye, both of them. Motherfucking Echo, like, I don't know. The fact that he's like, we need to build an army, and then the people in the bar are just Josie and Cherry and the Asian cop partner and like 2 unnamed, never seen before uniformed police officers and Karen. Not even Kristen's there. They didn't even tell Kristen yet. Like, I don't know. But we have a little montage seeing like, oh, here's Bullseye. Bullseye's free. He's out. Like, he's running around. And I'm excited to see what happens. I still have a theory that he might show up in Thunderbolts. I don't know. We shall see. But we see Fisk and Vanessa, eating dinner in the basement together. Now they can share this guilty pleasure of having all the political opponents in cages. We see BB Uric on the street thinking about I'm gonna need to do something and figure out how to tie Fisk to my uncle's murder. And we see Ayala's niece. I keep forgetting her name. Just on the street looking determined. She'll probably turn into White Tiger next season. It ending with the line, because we are the city without fear. And I think that's a great way to end that season. I think the season overall exceeded my expectations, lived up to it, because my expectations for Disney is pretty low at this point. Especially after Secret Invasion and Agatha all along. I didn't even finish Agatha. I finished Secret Invasion. Agatha was way more fun than Secret Invasion. I didn't have high hopes. I am pleasantly surprised that they cared so much, that they put in this much effort, and that they stuck the fucking landing, and that they were able to more or less seamlessly tie in the new footage with the 6 episodes they already shot, and make it feel like there's an episode a week that feels individual, but that at the end it all did tie back together, because Matt does talk about it's unfair. Like, I think it's episode 8 where he breaks with Kristen in the office because they're about to defend some tech bro who just bankrupted a bunch of teachers, a teachers union, which is also relevant to real life. Matt's just yeah, fuck this guy, and just tells him off to his face. And it rattles off to Kristen when she's like, hey man, we can't do that. And he's like, dude, why does this fucking guy get to go? And he gets the best defense that money can fucking buy, but the guy stole Carol McCord and he's in jail. The system doesn't work. We're babysitting chaos. That's a good line, and it reinforces the theme of the whole season, which is maybe being a lawyer and working within this system where Fisk is the fucking mayor, it's not going to do anything, because the system literally from top down is screwed up. So you might have to change shit from bottom up and revolt. I dig it. I dig that whole message. I dig I dig them fucking that shit is awesome. That scene is gonna be on a loop for me for a while. Anytime I hear shit that the cops do that's fucked up, I'm just gonna watch that scene. I'm gonna have that shit queued up. The return of Daredevil, Disney's version, they did it well. I hope they maintain the same energy. Like I said, I heard Jesse Gender, shout out to Jesse Gender, saying that the team that came in and did all the reshoots is now fully in charge, and they're kind of doing season 2 together. So it shouldn't feel as shaky as the season did, where it was shaky, but they still landed it. But it was shaky there in the middle for sure. But I really like this season of Daredevil. I think it's fantastic. And like and subscribe and comment. What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Are you excited for season 2? Are you not? Are you excited for Fantastic Four? For Superman? For Thunderbolts? What you gonna do? I'm gonna watch Captain America later. I think it's on Amazon. I'm hype. He's back, baby. Daredevil's fucking back. And fuck the police.